I'd like to call the meeting to order. At this time, Councilman Heaton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O Lord, in our hearts we join in our prayers to those facing illness and pain. Please provide comfort and courage to fight on as our strength comes from the healing powers that you have placed in us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Noah. Mary, if you would please call roll.
Heaton,
Here.
Young,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Meadows,
Here.
Beach,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Ehlers.
Here. Hearing of citizens' comments. If there was anyone in the audience this evening who would like to make a comment about something, this is the time for you to do that. Seeing none, we will move along to approval of the minutes of January 6, 2014 council meeting and the January 13th, 2014 special abbreviated council meeting. Those minutes were in your packet and you've had time to read those. Are there any additions, corrections, or questions? Seeing none, they will stand as approved as presented. Consent items, we have none this evening. Presentation of accounts and claims. Mary, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville, which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on January 21st, 2014, the sum of $643,690.89. General Fund, $239,079.06. Sanitation, $21,683.11. CIP tax, $6,085.41. Waterworks, $88,063.87. Capital projects, $3,476.58. Wastewater, $57,113.03. Tourism, $10,254.98. Gaming, $217,934.85. Parks and Water, 0. Section 2, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $643,690.89, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on January 21st, 2014. Read for the second time this 21st day of January 2014, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mark,
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Morris seconds it. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ehlers.
Yes. Thank you very much. We'll move along to unfinished business. Item A, third and final reading of bill number 2013-033.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, annexing certain contiguous territory at the northeast corner of Highway B and Interstate 70, commonly known as 2450 Main Street, owned by Casey's Marketing Company and Iowa Corporation, into the City of Boonville, Missouri, providing an effective date therefore and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Mark,
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Morris. We do have a representative from Casey's with us this evening, Bob. You want to wave, Bob? He's here if someone has a question or concern about something, but I think we've been talking about this for quite some time, and so hopefully we can move along. Any questions at this point?
This current is just for the annexation part?
Yes. Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes. Thank you very much. Item B, first and second reading of Bill Number 2014-002.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving the Casey's General Store redevelopment and final site plan at 2415 Main Street, Boonville, Cooper County, Missouri, providing an effective date therefore and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance. Whereas Casey's Marketing Company is the owner of the property at 2450 Main Street at the northeast corner of Route B and Interstate 70. And whereas Casey's is constructing a convenience store building containing 4,353 square feet, 12 pumps under canopy, and 14 additional marked parking spaces, including one disabled parking space on 1.19 acres of land. And whereas the C1 zone redevelopment is subject to the standards for final site planning under sections 2.95 corridor standards and 2.98 of Appendix C, zoning along the erosion code, erosion control, stormwater, lighting, traffic, and landscape management standards of the Code of Ordinances. And whereas MoDOT's and Casey's engineers conducted a traffic impact analysis as requested by the Commission under Appendix C, Section 2.984. The engineers, utilizing the data from the recorded traffic counts and standard traffic engineering assumptions of the current and projected traffic actions at the Route B Americana Drive intersection, determined that the additional traffic generated by Casey's will have no additional negative impacts on the operation of the intersection. And whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed the site plans, traffic impact analysis, and schedules in detail, and recommends approval of the final site plan, including the rear yard setback variance approved by the Board of Adjustment and interstate sign variances to height and size approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, contingent upon the plan document verification by the city engineer prior to presentation to the City Council. And whereas the city engineer has verified satisfactory completion of the above requirements as in the compliance chart and site plans, herein attached and incorporated by reference as Exhibit A. And whereas the City Council has evaluated the plans and schedules submitted according to the criteria and standards set forth in sections 2.99 and 2.100 of the Appendix C zoning of the Code of Ordinances. Whereas in concert with the site planning, an annexation petition was filed on October 21st, 2013 to correct an inadvertent error in the legal description of the previous annexation and extension in C1 zoning to this small wedge of land, contingent upon approval of the site plan, grant of 2 variances for the interstate sign and rear building setback in accordance to advance the redevelopment of this property. The public hearing was held regarding the annexation at the City Council on December 2nd, 2013, and third reading of the annexation ordinance was conducted on January 21st, 2014. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, that the final site plans, including approval of the rear yard setback variance and interstate sign variance for height and size as shown and indicated in Exhibit A attached hereto and made part hereof are hereby approved. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect and be in full force from and after passage of this ordinance. Section 3, that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. Read for the first and second time and passed this 21st day of January 2014, after a copy of this ordinance and reference site plans have been made available for public inspection prior to its first reading.
Second reading, title only.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving the Casey's General Store redevelopment and final site plan at 2450 Main Street, Boonville, Cooper County, Missouri, providing an effective date therefore and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve this ordinance.
Noah?
I second.
Okay. Questions? Noah?
I'm going to vote in favor of this ordinance tonight, but I did want to make a comment and maybe a suggestion. Not knowing the criteria that was used to do the traffic study, it kind of Well, it was just kind of strange to learn that they did a one-day, 12-hour traffic study, and that's what they determined would not affect the traffic in this location. As a person who travels that location more than once a day, the thing that this location has that many of our locations in Boonville doesn't is the element of having a lot of outsiders of our community trying to go in and out of that intersection, and not knowing the norms or the local customs. I think a lot of them they've got no clue what they're doing coming in and out of McDonald's and break time and whatnot. And so right now it's a three-way intersection really, because very few traffic comes from the other side right now. And I see a lot of close calls or out-of-towners confused on what to do. And I had made a recommendation about putting those lines on Americana to have a turn lane, and that's really helped a lot. I've seen that help a lot. That now the out-of-towners know to get far to the right to get back on the interstate and not get in the way of the local people going to the left. But I guess my concern is, or my suggestion I should say, is that I know that right now from the fire station to the Sonic Hospital area it's 30 miles an hour, and then it turns into 45 all the way out past the interstate. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be wise to just make that 30 mile an hour all the way out to the interstate to try to slow down some of that traffic coming from the hospital, coming into that intersection with so many out-of-towners probably going to stop there, more visibility for Casey's and just more traffic in that area. I didn't know if that'd be a wise suggestion. And I'm sure MoDOT it's probably a state highway, right, and they'd have to do it, but I just think that would be a good suggestion to slow the traffic down.
Okay,
We can do it up to the city limit line.
yep. We have control up to that.
We have control of the city limits?
Up to them.
Okay.
Up to
Okay.
the city limits, yeah.
Well, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see slow that traffic down, because coming at that intersection at 45 miles an hour, now it's really a four-way. There's going to be a lot more traffic on a four-way there. I just think it's a safety issue.
Okay, since we have a motion on the floor, why don't you bring that up under miscellaneous? We'll either refer it to street and alley or something like that.
Sure.
Discussion on this topic. Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes?
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, Bob. We have no questions for you back there, so. Is that good? Okay. Okay, yes.
Was that the intersection
Nobody ever went to that other convenience store. That's why it's no longer there. In my opinion,
So really, basically it was a compliment to Circuit Reed that you feel Casey's was gonna be
I do. Yeah, I do.
New business. Item A, consider joint resolution number R 2014-01 between the City of Boonville, County of Cooper.
Did we miss
Oh, I'm sorry. Item C, second reading of bill number 2014-001. Mary?
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute the land lease agreement with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for a portion of the Katy Trail right-of-way near the south entrance to the Katy Bridge in Boonville, Cooper County, Missouri, commonly referred to as the bunker area, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
I would entertain a motion. Mark?
Mayor, I move we approve this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Becky? Questions or comments? Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes?
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Now we'll go to new business. Item A, consider joint resolution number R 2014-01.
A joint resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri and Cooper County, Missouri, authorizing execution of the grant proposal with the University of Missouri for economic development activities and providing an effective date therefor. Whereas the respective parties are authorized under state law to engage in economic development activity, and whereas Cooper County, hereinafter referred to as the county, is a political subdivision which is empowered to enter into joint agreements and engage in economic development activities under Article 6, Section 16 of the Missouri Constitution, and under Section 67.303, 70.220, 100.020, and 135.210 RSMO to advance the lawful activities of the county. And whereas the City of Boonville, hereinafter referred to as the city, is a political subdivision which is empowered to enter into joint agreements and engage in economic development activities under Section 6, Article 6, Section 16 of the Missouri Constitution, and under Section 67.303, 70.220, 100.020, and 135.210 RSMO to advance the lawful activities of the city. And whereas the parties desire to carry out their respective duties for their citizens in the most economical and proper means available, taking into consideration the available resources of each of the parties, with the City of Boonville paying $55,000 on April 30th, 2014, and Cooper County paying $25,000 on April 30th, 2014 of the costs of the grant. Expenses and membership fees for the annual economic development activities will be paid by the city as expenses are incurred. Whereas a memorandum of understanding and vision statement are integral components of the effective and customized economic development plan for the city and county, will require an ongoing and collaborative approach with representation from all parties to create a memorandum of understanding and vision statement over the next 90 days. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri, and the Cooper County Commission of Cooper County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri hereby authorizes the mayor to execute the grant proposal and bring together the appropriate persons and organizations to fully develop and create a memorandum of understanding and vision statement for approval by the City Council in 90 days. Section 2, that the Commission of the County of Cooper, Missouri hereby authorizes the presiding commissioner to execute the grant proposal and bring together the United States and organizations and to fully develop and create a memorandum of understanding and vision statement for approval by the commission in 90 days. Section 3, this resolution
Lord,
shall take
help us
effect
remember the
in full
citizens
force
of
from
Boonville
after its passage
that
in
we
the Quorum.
represent here in
Passed
this
this
meeting.
21st day of January 2014 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, I move we approve this resolution.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Becky. Questions or comments? Gee, you guys are so comprehensive on everything. You just know everything. That's good.
I'll make
Okay, thank you, Morris.
I've talked to several members of the community about this, and Jim, they're looking forward and eager and think this is one of the best things that Boonville has tried to move forward in the economic developing field. No pressure at all now. You got 8,000 people out there. You got to sell yourself, but I have got nothing but positive comments
Yes.
about partnering with the University of Missouri
Yeah.
and Jim.
Right. Good comments. Okay, well, let's vote on it then. Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard, Dr. Gann. Reports of standing committees. Park Board, Morris?
This park board, we didn't have a meeting like agenda items.
Okay. Planning and zoning, Ned?
We got to see the results of that meeting this evening, and we just voted on it, so that was the largest portion of the meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Ned? Item C, Boonville Housing Authority. Morris?
Just routine meeting, good meeting, and everything's going well.
Okay, very good. Reports of city officials. City Administrator?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Mayor? With the death of Mike Magyar, we do need to fill his unexpired term on tourism. And they have come forward with a recommendation as a committee of Matt Billings. He has expressed a willingness to serve on that committee, and that is their recommendation. So I bring that forward to you for your approval. Noah?
Mayor, I make a motion that we accept their recommendation.
Okay, do I hear a second? Ned? Oh,
Second?
okay. One comment, I do want to make sure everyone understands, Matt is currently sitting on planning and zoning, and we don't have a formal policy that people don't serve on two committees, but sort of an informal. And so I talked to him about that, and he would like to continue on planning and zoning. We do have some other boards where there are just a couple of people who serve on two committees. But I really like to spread it out and get as many people involved as we possibly can. Having said that, I will say it is becoming increasingly difficult to find people who are willing to serve on boards. So that may become something that becomes more common. So, roll call.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes. Thank you very much. City Councilor,
Nothing this evening.
City Clerk, Mary.
Yes, I have the final filing updates. The candidate filing period ended at 5 o'clock this evening, January 21st. And the final list of candidate filings is as follows. Ward 1, Mike Kelly has declared that he would not refile for his seat. However, we will have a contested race for Ward 1 between Sarah Gallagher and Kari Evans. Ward 2, incumbent Susan Meadows has filed for re-election in Ward 2. Also filing in Ward 2 is Albert Turner. Dan Painter has withdrawn his name from the contest for this ward. Ward 3, incumbent Ned Beach has filed for re-election in Ward 3. Ward 4 will be an uncontested race with Henry Hurt filing for Ward 4. The mayor's seat will also see a contested race between Morris Carter and incumbent Julie Thatcher. That is it.
Thank you very much. Miscellaneous. Noah, did you want to bring that up?
Yeah, I've got a couple of issues.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let's do the easy ones first. I'd like to thank the council people that were able to step up and cover for me on my committee. Greatly appreciate that. As it turns out, probably more timing than I would have thought of, but as my travel goes up, my health has gone down, and I will be starting chemo this Thursday and Friday. So it's a good time, and I greatly appreciate everybody that stepped forward to help me out on those committee responsibilities. Previous comment about the speed limit, I'd like to make a motion that we do refer that to the committee, to the street committee, and see about getting that lowered from 45 to 30.
Will that include coming across that overpass?
No.
How far do the city limits go?
We basically go right there to, right past the hotel. Or right before the hotel.
No, the city limits go to about that brick house between the Lighthouse Baptist Church and Fray's. But what Megan's telling you is our responsibility ends
Or
right at the
Highway B.
hotel.
Or Highway B ends there.
So we can change the speed limit before they come over the overpass towards McDonald's?
Yeah, we've changed the speed, we've initiated a speed limit change on Ashley Road when it went from 50 or 55 to 45. But it's not easy dealing, not easy being green, I guess. It's not easy dealing with the state of Missouri and MoDOT. So there's some specific steps we have to go through to initiate or to enact a speed limit, and the principal step is we have to prove that it's worthwhile. And that's tough.
Madam Mayor, just a point of order.
Ned?
We need to have a second before we can discuss.
Okay. Would someone like to
I'll-
second that?
I'll second it so that we can
Ned?
discuss.
Okay, thank you. Now discussion.
Well, even without the MoDOT, can we not make it 30 all the way up to the, or you said actually past the intersection to the hotel?
No, our maintenance responsibility ends at the hotel.
At which hotel? Days Inn or
Days
on
Inn.
the other side? It's Days Inn. So before we even get to that intersection.
Yeah, the intersection's not in the city.
That's right. And then the city limits goes on to about that brick house between the
Out by the
Lighthouse
veterinarian
Baptist Church
clinic,
and
right,
the
yeah.
fair.
Well,
Can we let the board work all these details
Yeah.
out and bring it back to us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments before we vote? Roll call.
Heaton,
yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes. Any other miscellaneous?
Yes.
Mike?
Last week, the city staff presented some visionary pictures of what the Kemper facility could look like without the admin building, and considering those of us that have been inside that building in the current condition, and the fact that it's a hazardous, dangerous building in its current condition, we don't have the funds to bring it to a safe and usable fashion. I think it's smart for us to take the steps to demolish it. I realize there's a budget with that, and that we have challenges ahead with us to make sure that we can even demolish the building at the cost that it's going to take. However, I think that we need to take the steps to start that process, and so I am going to make a motion that we ask the city staff to start the process, tell the city staff to start the process of demolishing the admin building in its entirety.
Ned?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Becky?
I would like to see the cost of total demolition and then the cost of demolition leaving that portion, that one corner of the original that Megan showed in the diagram.
I think that was in the note from Eric,
Okay.
the architect, because you can't just say we're not gonna, you gotta shore it up and close it back in to do it, so you leave it there, but then you gotta work on it. You don't have to work on the inside of it, but you gotta work on it.
Well, I have had several people contact me after hearing about that, indicating they would like to see that one corner at least saved if we couldn't save the whole building, and I told them that was not likely.
Well, we've discussed this in workshop, but we really have not discussed it on a council agenda.
Right.
Do you feel like we need to do more public discussion before we make that decision, Noah?
Well, I think the public was listening because, we all know how the ebb and flow of phone calls from citizens go. It had been quiet for quite a while until we had that little workshop last week, and I had 5 contacts about that. Some didn't quite get the price, and I don't have it in front of me, but off the top of my head, I thought it was like 300,000 range to take it all down and 800 to take down part and shear up the other, but I could be mistaken, but I thought that's what it was. And everybody that made contact with me was very adamant about this isn't the time to be spending 500,000 extra on a corner of a building. In my own personal opinion, I think having the building down actually improves the rest of the campus, makes it more economic viable for other opportunities. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Okay. Ned?
If I might, I think you bring up a good point, but the good part of that is that once we turn it over to the staff to get into the process of it, it gets to come back to us, and it gets to come back to us, so we will get the discussion, I think, Julie. But you're right, we need to see those details and those pieces and parts so that we can vote on that. What I think Mike has done is the right thing. Let's go, let's get the process started. And I support it. And yeah, like Noah, I've gotten 2 or 3, which is a lot, 2 or 3 phone calls on just on that subject.
I would entertain changing my motion slightly if the words "in its entirety" is causing the concern. If in the process of going forward, they come back to us with options that are cost-effective that we can afford, that might leave something of historical value, I have no problem with that. Would you like me to caveat that to say instead of entirety, but to say with options for remnants?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think the public is going to want to know what the various options are.
Okay, so do you need me to restate that? Okay.
I don't think you can get any more definite idea of the options without incurring significant engineering costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we
Well,
paid
we
for
don't
what
want-
we got,
yeah.
probably 10 or 15,000 to get what we got.
There is the problem.
So, you know, so.
So we almost have to decide if we want to, with our, knowing our budget constraints, we want to step forward and cut the limb off to save the patient or not. And
Well said.
Mark?
And comments that I've heard are notwithstanding the cost of the project, and there hadn't been a lot of comment about the dollar amount, but the comments were, it'd be nice to save that portion of that corner. So I again, like Noah says, I think people were listening. I think people are, hearing that. But I do think that, there is an interest, if at all possible, for some remnants of it. But, there again, I think that'll be a final decision of the council. So.
Well, that's, excuse me.
Go ahead, Ned.
That's been quantified, as I remember, in the information you gave us, and it's something around $500,000. And that doesn't get us a complete restoration on that corner. It just saves you. Is that correct?
We ought to reread that. It might do a little more than you think. So. That's big bucks that we really don't have. An That's
extra
true.
$500,000. I think if we're going for this correctly, we go to take it all down. I do like the idea of the corners. Remember, they were going to make that into a little park, and the corners become a memorial. I think the memorial is a good idea.
Yeah, on that subject, do we have the cost for leaving the corners like you had in the park if we decide to go that route? Do we have any idea what that would cost?
I mean, the little outline with the brick around it, no, we don't have, that was just a conceptual thing.
Okay.
That's 5 years down the road.
So by saying entirety would probably obviate the possibility of that happening. That would mean all that has
Well,
to
I
go
think they were knocking it all down and saving some brick and going back there and.
Right.
I see.
That would all be,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
that
so
would
it doesn't
follow-
leave that
It doesn't
option
leave-
out?
no, it
Okay,
doesn't leave
very
that
good,
out.
okay.
It would just follow the footprint
Yeah,
and
just
give
follow the
people a ghost vision of where the building was.
Great, okay. Then I leave my motion as stated.
Okay. Becky, that okay with you? Okay, so we have a motion,
Got
second?
a second?
More discussion? Roll call.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Beach,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Okay, any other miscellaneous? Oh, Ned?
One simple and hopefully quick item. In anticipation of passing the annexation at the April election, I think it might be appropriate for the council to set up a committee around Megan to make sure that we have all of the necessary information and bullet points to talk to our constituents, and also to set up a plan as it regards contact with people. I know the city's not in a position to advertise and do all that, but we do have conversations, we do sit in restaurants and what have you, and I'd like to understand the bullet points just as well as the presentations that are going to be given to Rotary and all of that.
Okay.
So you might want to set up a little, you and a couple of other people, just to, from the council to make sure that you could help us.
Put together a little education packet
Yeah.
to go out in the community with, okay?
Bullet points, please, not
Yep.
long
Yep.
lawyery things, okay?
And we also need people in the community who will step up
Good
and
idea.
back this,
Good idea.
maybe even more importantly than anything.
Yeah.
Because It's going to be real important.
What was the
So-
election result? Wasn't it 60, 70, 80% in the city?
72%, I
So
believe, yeah.
surely we can find people. 72% is already in favor of it.
Right. So if you know some people,
Mm-hmm.
either turn their names in or talk to them about getting involved in this.
Jim, Dr. Jim Gann.
Jim and
No pressure, Jim.
welcome to
Jim.
I was gonna
city.
give his name.
Let's see. Anything else? Good idea. We will work on that. Anything else? Garrett, Dahlman.
The park board minutes for December and then my end of the month report for December both had comments in it. The Breathe Easy Boonville group made a presentation to the park board during the December meeting about a no smoking or tobacco-free ordinance within the city parks. Most of the park board was in favor of it. There was one park board member that said he would not support any type of action like that. But after quite a bit of discussion, the park board decided before we were going to ask Megan to draw up an ordinance and go through all of that work, we wanted to kind of gauge the opinion of the city council. I've done some research. I have not found a community in the central Missouri area that has a blanket tobacco-free policy in their parks. They have internal policies prohibiting tobacco products on athletic fields, but as far as picnic areas, playgrounds, shelter houses, that's not covered. The City of Columbia has a departmental policy, but Columbia they also have an administrative park board which allows them to enact policies like that. They also have the authority to levy fines. But I think Columbia is a charter city, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, and which is a whole completely different ballgame than what we've got. So I'm standing here right now asking for guidance from the council before we go through this rigmarole of drafting up an ordinance and trying to enact something that may or may not be the wish of the council. Yes?
Does there seem to be a problem, or are people complaining about people out there smoking?
I think I may have gotten one complaint last year.
One complaint?
Morris? That is him.
I've talked to several community people, and they don't see where it's needed in our parks. And plus, and I think, Gary, we discussed this at the park board, this is going to be another ordinance that technically there's going to be no way to enforce. And I think we've got enough of those on the books now that we can't enforce, so why have an ordinance?
It would pretty much be a voluntary enforcement. Now, Megan did provide me with a copy of something today or last week, whenever she put it in my box, but I think there's a bill, is it a Senate bill, that's been put on a docket in Jeff City that would prohibit smoking in all public places. It didn't specifically address parks, but just under the parameters of public places. We will continue, and I will actually be a little bit more aggressive in signage for all of our athletic fields. I've offered the Breathe Easy Boonville if they would provide me with the signs, like the tot lot out at Harley Park. I would put a sign at the gate asking people not to smoke in there. But like I said before, we asked Megan to go through, the effort to draw up an ordinance. I want to find out what you guys want to do.
I think Noah had his hand up first.
Yeah, I've had some discussions with this organization, and to kind of go to your question a little bit, you have to understand that they're a private organization in the community trying to get awareness out and get people to stop smoking. And my conversations with them have been really based on the fact that I truly support, and in fact I don't smoke, none of my family smokes, I'm against smoking personally. I certainly agree with their intentions. However, my support of this stops at City Hall. I don't think I'm not going to vote for anything like this, whether it's the parks, whether it's, they want a total smoking ban in buildings in Boonville, in the city limits, and I'm just not in favor for it. I'm 100% supportive of their trying to educate the public and trying to get them to quit smoking, and they've had some great articles ran in the paper about going around testing all the different locations in town and trying to educate the public on how high of level of smoke there is, but I'm not in favor of imposing an ordinance on people to not smoke in public places or parks for that matter. As far as athletic fields go, that's sort of been a long-standing norm, just because we don't want to let the children think smoking in athletic activities is acceptable. But I would not be in supportive of it.
Yeah, this is a hard subject, I think, for all of us that probably don't smoke or don't like smoke for whatever reason. And we want to have secondhand smoke contained to the point where those that don't want to breathe it aren't forced to breathe it. And when you have a choice, then that's different. But when you're forced to, then that's a problem, like on airplanes and so forth. As opposed to smoking as I am, I have a tough time restricting all areas that people could go to, even outdoors, to a place where people that are smokers can go to finally smoke. Yes, I'd like to see no smoking indoors for, again, those people that don't want to breathe it, certainly in workplaces where you have no choice to be there. You don't want to have smoke while you're working. We already have that in our government buildings. But outdoors, where do you go? So you have to then come up with designated smoking areas. That's what we did at our military installations. You couldn't smoke in the buildings. You couldn't smoke near the entrances to the buildings. And then you finally had to find these 40 meters away from the entrance of the building spots where only they would go, where they could smoke so that no one else could be bothered by it, away from the sidewalks and so forth. And you start getting into an issue in a community on where are those places. If you make it you can't smoke on the sidewalks, or you can't smoke in the parks, you can't smoke in between there, then where do they smoke? They have to go home to smoke, then they have kids at home that smoke. Where do they go? They could go smoke in their backyard. I mean, then you start getting into difficulty. My bigger issue probably in public areas are the fact that people that smoke consider their leftover remains not trash, whereas we have an ordinance already that says it is litter. It's included specifically, cigarette butts is litter already in our ordinance. So they still do it, and it becomes an issue as you walk around and see it in your parks or wherever you go. I don't like to see that, but it's already an ordinance. So I finally looped around. My point is that this is a difficult area, a difficult issue. I'd like to see smoking reduced, ceased in most cases, if possible. But you got to give an area for them to smoke. And indoors is the area where you don't want them to feel like they want to go. Now, if you take away the outdoors, now what do you do? So I guess I would be opposed to it too, although if there was a way that we could control civil understanding that when you're in areas with large groups of people that aren't smokers, you shouldn't smoke. But that's something that's a social condition that people should just know what to do. Know what to do is the right thing to do. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Being at the university hospital, there's no smoking even in the parking garages. And every day I walk out and see people huddled in corners smoking in the parking garage. And I asked somebody what we were supposed to do about that. And supposedly the staff are supposed to help enforce it. Well, I'm not about to go enforce it to some of these folks, and I'm not in favor. I am against smoking in public places, but there is a limit, and to try and to enforce something that's very difficult to enforce out in the open. I'm not in favor of that. I would be in favor of urging is it Breathe Easy? Is that who you? Some of these folks maybe to up their PR about courtesy out in the smoking in public, suggestions of or awareness of smoking out in the open, something like that, and not put the onus on us.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Ned?
I'll do it very, very quickly. I'm an ex-smoker, smoked for 25 years. It's a personal freedom, it's a personal choice. I am not bothered by the ordinances that say not in buildings. I think that's absolutely appropriate, but I would vote no, Gary.
Okay. All right. All right, I think I have
Does
a
that give
consensus.
you
Megan has one less thing on her plate. All right. Thank you.
okay, thanks, Gary, for bringing that forward. Any other miscellaneous?
Mayor?
Yes.
I had the pleasure of doing a tour with ML and Gary back in early January, and I just want to say I was very excited about Boonville and the wonderful infrastructure we have for this city. I took so much for granted, and now whenever I turn on the tap or flush the stool, I think of them.
I think that's a compliment.
That is a compliment, and I really appreciated what I learned that day.
Yeah, it is
I
very
wanted to
interesting.
Thank them for their time.
Okay. Becky?
And I just want to say, at the correctional center, we have people that come in from a variety of communities and drive a distance. And this last snow, everyone was very complimentary of Boonville and our streets and our clearance, and indicated it was the best conditions that they had run into. And so I want to give kudos to our city staff that spend their nights out clearing our streets so we can get safely where we need to go. Yeah.
That's great. I'd forgotten all about that. I
Yeah.
left St. Louis that morning. And the only place I got that looked fairly clean was Boonville. Just
Yeah.
amazing.
And I
Nice
think
work,
it's,
ML.
yeah, it's not just the street department. I think all the departments kind of pitch in and help, don't they, Earl? Everybody has a blade. Yeah, Mr. Haig has a blade.
He waves at me.
Yeah. So, we've got a real good group of employees who pitches in when they need to, so thank you all very much. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Nope.